Hey, and welcome back. Today we're checking out a new electric drum set from the sponsor of today's video, Donner. Now personally, I've never really been in a position where I relied on electronic drums for practice or performance, but over the entirety of 2024, I've been lucky to check out a variety of different e-kits from not only Donner, but a few other electric drum companies. Most of these have ranged in price from a little over $400 to just under $1,000. Of course, you could spend a bit less or way more on a variety of different electric sets, but I think this price range offers some really interesting options and is probably the sweet spot for a number of my private lesson students and their families who require electronic drums for their living situations. It wasn't that long ago when I looked at companies like Donner with a pretty dismissive attitude, but over the last 4 or 5 years, I think they've really stepped up their game and become a popular option in the e-drum world. Since they don't have traditional distribution with music stores and only really sell through sites like Amazon, it's hard to try these kits out in person before purchasing, but I appreciate their commitment to getting these sets out to content creators to share their opinions and give some perspective to potential users. The kit they've sent me today to check out is their latest, the Donner Beat. From what I understand, it's an evolution of their Backbeat kit minus the LED lighting feature, which allows the Beat to come in at a few $100s cheaper at just $799. This kit comes with 5 drums, 3 cymbals, and is controlled off a 7-inch touchscreen module featuring over 1,100 sounds that can easily be built into over 100 different kits. The drum pads feature mesh heads for a realistic feel, and also include rubber sleeves on top of all the rims to keep the volume down during any playing on the rims. The 3 tom pads are 8 inches in diameter, while the snare comes in a bit larger at 10 inches. And although these shells don't have the same LED lighting features as the Backbeat, they are highlighted by their beautiful black oyster-like finish. The cymbals included with this kit feature 2 dual-zone pads for the hi-hat and crash, along with a 3-zone 12-inch pad for the ride, allowing you to trigger the bell, bow, and edge all from one pad. To mount all of these drums, the Donner Beat includes a sturdy drum rack with high-quality metal attachments for toms and cymbals. On top of all of this, one of the features that really sets this kit apart is the internal cable management built into the drum rack, creating less mess of cables traveling from the sound module across the kit to the various pads. Aside from the pads, rack, and module, this setup also includes a bass drum pedal, a pair of sticks, and a few accessories like a drum key and cable straps to help with setup and organization. I was able to get this entire kit unboxed and set up in just about 30 minutes, and after getting acclimated to the set, I played through all 50 stock kits, which I'll have released in a separate video, but for now, here's some short samples of my favorites of the bunch. Alright, so now that I've had a chance to play this and spend some time behind it, I want to give you my final thoughts and let you know how I think it stands up to the other Donner kits I've been able to try this year. If I had to describe this set in 2 words, it would be intuitive and convenient. And what I mean by that is, for a lot of people who don't have experience playing electronic drums or setting up electronic drums, I think this would be very easy to approach and get going quickly. And a lot of that comes from the convenience of the rack system with the internal cables mounted in it, which makes it very easy to plug in and play. I think the Brain, being a touchscreen, is a lot easier to navigate and is familiar to people who use the same sort of technology on their phones and on their tablets. So I think they'll be able to go in and adjust parameters and use this to its full extent without having a huge learning curve. When it comes to the physical build of things, I think it's nice and is similar to the other Donner kits I've tried. The pads having mesh heads is very realistic, and I love these rubber sleeves on the rims because it keeps the volume down, which for most people using electronic drums is an important factor. I really love this ride cymbal with the 3-zone trigger, and I love that it has a pad and sensor around the entirety of the cymbal. I wish that they would have been able to include that on the crash and hi-hats, but I'm sure that's a cost-saving measure, and would you be willing to pay more to have those? I might, especially if I'm going to invest this much in a kit, but I can understand them not doing that. I do think that the Donner Backbeat has that on all 3 cymbals though, so if you're interested in that, you can still step up to that tier. My last gripe with the physicality of it deals with the drum sizes. I like the 10-inch snare, and I like having 2 8-inch rack toms here because it's easy to fit in this area. I wish that the floor tom could have been a little bigger though, because on a drum set, your 3 toms are going to be graduated sizes, getting bigger as you go. To have an 8-inch floor tom, when you look at it from the overhead cam, it almost looks like it's smaller than all the drums, and it feels that way when you're playing it, even though it's not. If they could have included a 10-inch pad here, I think it would feel nice. And again, that is something you do get on the step up with the Backbeat kit. So aside from all the physical components, I think the most important thing to talk about is the sound. And this is hands down the best sounding Donner kit that I've tried. I think they've really improved on their samples, especially with some of the more nuanced and acoustic styles, because every drum company can make a good 808 or digital sounding drum set, but to try to replicate some of these sounds from like a jazz drum set or a more indie folk lighter playing, I think that is hard, and they're getting better here. I also love that with the sound module, it's so easy to affect and tweak those parameters. You can turn the volume up of one voice very easily, or you can substitute one voice and change it for a ride cymbal from another set and bring it into one very easily. And it's not that you couldn't do that on the other sets, but when you only have one dial and a few different buttons, it's very hard to go in and do all that. And with this having a touchscreen and being such familiar territory for people, it's much more intuitive. Now, there are a bunch of features that I don't really have time in this video to share, but they do include some fun lessons with rudiments, grooves, some play-along tracks. For me, that's not something I would use personally, and when it comes to my students, maybe they would use it, but I don't really think it's a deal breaker or something that I would have to have in a set like this. It's cool that they have it, and they also have an app that you can pair up with this if you'd like to do even more stuff, and I know they've developed some game-like challenges to use with the kit, which I think is cool. They want to get young people engaged, and kids love gaming, so why not? Now, with this kit coming in at $800, it is almost twice as much as the last one they sent me, the 200 Max. And although the physicality is the same, I think the sounds are just so far beyond that I would absolutely pay this price for this kit. I'm very impressed with what Donner's doing, and I'm excited to see what they have coming next. Hopefully they'll be down to share some more with me as they keep growing and developing in this electronic drum space. I have some affiliate links down in the description of this video, so if you want to pick one of these up for yourself, I'd really appreciate you using that. It supports my channel, and it adds no extra cost to you. So until next time, thanks.